Hello and welcome to the Fresno City Toastmasters Club. This is your current acting president, Joey Myers. For those watching on YouTube, we have a decent size today, and I think we'll get it going. A couple things on the business agenda to go over. Let's see, where did I see that? I saw that. What window am I opening here? Here we go. So really the only business we have besides still day 2 testing our library where Chanel's at over there. We, as you can see kind of faintly on that green wall to her right, our left, you can see our screens there from the projector. So we're still working on getting the lighting situation a little bit better over there. I guess they put in a work order and we'll see how long that takes to where when we click the switch, it doesn't turn the lights off or it doesn't dim them. Is it even a dimmer, Chanel, or is it just more of a on-off?
I don't know the answer to that.
Well, what's a switch? Does a switch have like a thing that can go up and down, or is it just one? It's a one click.
Mm-hmm. I don't think we were able to turn them off at all.
At all, but it didn't have a dimmer or anything like that. It's just straight up on or off.
That's good.
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
Turn them off.
Yeah. I wonder if
I guess it is working. Wow.
it did work. So the only thing is it's still a little faint. I wonder if the lumens in the projector, if there can be the light can be turned up or something. But anyway, we are, as Chanel's fooling around with that, we are working on day 2 of our new hybrid location, one of the Fresno County libraries over off of Cedar and Shields. The Betty Rodriguez library. Yeah. So that's the big kind of one of the bigger orders of business. And then we have this weekend, I guess, huh? Nope, not this weekend. 2 weeks from now, we have makeup officer training, August 6th, which is Saturday. Let me find its final opportunity to obtain that training will be on Saturday, August 6th from 8 to noon. District 33 Club Officer Training Makeup Policy is attached in the forwarded email. I think I forwarded that over to you ladies. So that is the other order of business. Any other things that I missed, board? That about right? Oh, Chanel?
I know, so Joey and Denny and I had discussed this briefly, that I'm not going to be in town next week to come to the physical location. And so if no one else is able or available to come and set things up, which it's kind of short notice to do the training on that, I was going to suggest we do an online only meeting next week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we should probably do that. I can't make it for the next 3 weeks or next 3 meetings because the wife went back to work and I got both kiddos here with me, so I can't get out. But once they go back to school, I'm good to be there for here on out. And Danny, you're out of town, I think, right? Heather, you're at work. Sarah, you're at work. And then Kalani, that would be horrible if we just threw you in there, just said, here's all the stuff, you do it. So yeah.
And I'll be out of town next week too.
You'll be out of town. Okay. Yep. So that answers your question, Miss Chanel.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right. Anything else? All good? All right. Let me pull up the agenda here. Here we go. All right. So what I will do now is I will hand the podium over to our Toastmaster of the day to introduce our theme. So I want to bring up Miss Heather Davis.
Thank you, Joey. So today's theme is voice accents, which I would like to attempt, but probably not, because I am terrible at voice accents. However, my husband is amazing at it, and I've been encouraging him to actually get into voice acting because he just has a wide range of the maniacal, villainous laughter to the sweet and bubbly, innocent type of person. And it's just so fun to watch and listen. And just in general, you have so many different accents around the world. So it's really exciting to hear somebody from a different region of the world and hear about how they speak and how they talk and their slang and their lingo. And we think what we're saying is normal when really it's like, whoa, way out there to other people. So I just, I hope that throughout your day that you have your listening ears even more open than you typically do, and see if you can hear any accents throughout your day. And if you're feeling courageous enough to talk to people, strike up a conversation about it, or just even maybe play an own game in your head of like, I wonder where that's from. But either way, that is the theme for today. And as the Toastmaster, I'll be introducing people and their roles, which there's quite a few open roles. So you're going to have to tell me, Joey, who got filled in while I was away. But the very first person is going to be our general evaluator, which is Mr. Joey Myers.
Thank you,
Oh,
Heather.
He's introducing. Never mind. You got it.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about it. I was like, I got you.
Thank you.
I got you. Yep. So we have those 3 roles to fill. So we have grammarian, timer, odd counter. Somebody want to jump on grammarian real quick, and then we'll wait. We won't introduce that role yet. We'll let you maybe find a word, and then we'll take our time on the others. So anybody want to jump into the grammarian role? Who doesn't have a role today? Heather, you want to jump on it?
Yeah, I could do it.
Okay. Thank you, Heather. And then we'll wait on you to introduce that. Anybody want to jump on to the odd counter role? Sarah. All right. Sarah, do you want to introduce that role, por favor?
Too. Odd counter is one of the most fun roles that we have. We get to pay attention to the different crutch words that people use, and in a hopes and attempt to be able to decrease those so that our speech can be eloquent and beautiful. And so that is the only reason to be able to, just to bring awareness and not to criticize. And so that's really great. I love that part of it. And I will let you know, I will count them and let you know which ones are your favorite words and how you did today. Thanks, Joey.
Thank you, Sarah. And then I can take on the timer role if that's okay. So I'll explain that one just to give some little extra time to Heather. I know we don't really have anybody new on today, but I'm going to use the Toastmaster timer for you, I think is what it is. I always forget the name of it. It's never really intuitive. Timer for TM. That's what it is. Timer for TM. So I will be, and I think Chanel, your speech 5 to 7. Yeah. Yep. 5 to 7 minutes. And then we have our 1 to 2 minutes for table topics, 2 to 3 for evaluations. And I will use the colored backgrounds, say on Chanel's speech. When she gets to the 5-minute mark, she will see this. And then 6-minute mark, we'll see this. And the 7-minute mark, we'll see this to wrap it up. So I will be doing that, keeping the time. Heather, are you ready to go? All right. So I will introduce Heather, who's our grammarian of the day.
Thank you, Joey. I have a tendency to make things harder, so I'm going to do the opposite and try and make it as easy as possible. So hopefully more people can fit in the word of the day. So if you haven't guessed, it's going to be accent, which the actual definition of accent is a distinctive mode of pronunciation of a language, especially one associated with a particular nation, locality, or social class. That's something that sometimes people don't think of too, of how your accent can really kind of define where you are within the hierarchy. So just something to think about. Hopefully you can put the word accent somewhere in your verbiage today, whether it be table topics or in the in-between. At the end of the meeting, I'll let everyone know who is able to fit that in. So good luck, and back to you, Joey.
Thank you, Miss Heather. And probably one of my favorite movies and accents is from the Brad Pitt movie where he's a poike. It's a British film, the movie called Snatch. And it's one of the scenes where he's barbecuing, where he's got one of his minions is sitting there barbecuing, one of the villain guys. And he asks him, how many minutes? And the guy tells him, he goes, 2 minutes, Turkish. And so he starts he's talking, dialoguing with his buddy. And then he asks about, I don't know, a few minutes later, 5 minutes later, he says, hey, how are those hot dogs coming? He says, 2 minutes, Turkish. He said, you said 2 minutes, 5 minutes ago. So it's one of my favorite scenes in there. It's just, you kind of lose your mind because you're listening to the dialogue and he comes back and every time it's 2 minutes, he asks him. So one of my favorite accents in there. And you got to listen. If you haven't seen that one, Brad Pitt's accent is awesome. You can't even tell what he's saying. It's some Irish, I don't even know, pigeon something or other. You can't even understand him. With that, I will bring back our Toastmaster of the day to introduce Chanel, who's going to be giving a speech today, 5 to 7 minute speech, and that's Miss Heather Davis. Throw it back at you.
Thank you. I feel like we're playing tag back and forth today. But to introduce our one and only speaker, Miss Chanel. She is going to be repeating a speech that she has done before. So we are excited to see the improvements and the changes that she has made. The title of the speech is Our Greatest Addiction Can Fit in the Palm of Our Hand. So take it away, Miss Chanel.
Thank you. Before I start,
We can't hear you, Chanel.
I think she's messing with the speaker. No.
Mm-mm.
what about now?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm glad that I did a voice check. So you guys can all hear me good now?
Mhm.
Okay, perfect. Some of you may have heard this speech before and some of you probably haven't. So it may be a little bit new. Okay. Raise your hand if you own a smartphone. Everybody raises their hand, right? Raise your hand if you have used your smartphone today for any reason whatsoever. Raise your hand if your smartphone is actually within 2 feet of your body at this very moment. Mine's actually not. It's a little further than 2 feet because it's on the tripod. And then finally, raise your hand if you would like to confess that you've ever had a slight spasm of panic if you momentarily misplaced your smartphone. Anybody? That's good. Thank you for being honest, everyone, because I know that we all have. My point is, we know that technology has become very integral to our lives. And most of us are probably not strangers to the idea that technology can actually be addictive. The research on this has been out for several years now, and we've all read articles about the addictive nature of technology, no matter how old you might be. So today, yes, I am going to talk about technology addiction and specifically addiction to our smartphones. Now, what I don't want to do is beat the dead horse that smartphones are bad for you, you should get rid of it and not use it and limit yourself to only 15 minutes a day, because I recognize that that's not reasonable or realistic for most of us. Rather, my goal is to encourage all of us, including and perhaps most of all myself, to take a more serious look and consider the impact that our smartphone habits do have on our lives. So before we dive into that, I want to make a comparison between smartphones and something else that used to be an addiction that ruled our society several decades ago. You guys might already guess what I'm going to talk about. It is cigarette smoking. So we know that 50 years ago, around 40% of Americans aged 15 and older smoked cigarettes, according to the CDC. Today, only around 15% of Americans smoke regularly, which is overall a positive thing for our society. However, I pose the question, why was smoking so popular in the mid part of the 20th century? And having thought about it for a while, I think that there's 3 main reasons. Number 1 is accessibility. They were cheap and sold everywhere, easy to get. Number 2 was social acceptability. It was something that everybody did, it was around, and there wasn't a lot of social pressure to stop doing it at the time. And number 3, lots of advertising. The market was flooding with ads depicting smoking, and we've all seen those old ads that even doctors recommend that you do it. Now, do these 3 things, accessibility, social acceptability, and advertising, sound familiar at all, specifically in the realm of technology? Let's look at these 3 characteristics when compared to smartphones. Number 1, accessibility. Smartphones are affordable for the average American, and they are easy to get. Number two, social acceptability. Everybody has a smartphone, right? Even my 88-year-old grandma has a smartphone, and she's actually half decent at using it. And number three is advertising, which I don't think I need to spell out. I mean, Apple, Samsung, Google, Verizon, AT&T, all of these companies pushing constantly the need for newer and better technology on us. And the overall message is that if you have this technology, it will make your life idyllic. So now that we've established that smartphone addiction can kind of be compared to another past addiction from the last century, let's answer the question, what is an addiction? This is a definition I'm going to read from the American Society of Addiction Medicine. Addiction is a treatable chronic medical disease involving complex interactions among brain circuits, genetics, the environment, and an individual's life experiences. People with addiction use substances or engage in behaviors that become compulsive and often continue despite harmful consequences. So from that definition, we can pull two distinct characteristics of addiction. Number one, addictions are compulsive. And number two, they continue despite the fact that there's harmful consequences behind them. So let me ask another question. Why are addictions harmful? We typically take it for granted that addictions to hard substances like heroin or crack or meth are bad. But what do addictions actually take away from the people who are suffering from them? I would pose three things. Number one, they detach people from the environment and other people around them. Addictions are by nature escapist. This is something that I think the smartphone can be guilty of at times if improperly used. Number two, addictions can distract us and delay us from reaching our other positive goals in life. According to entrepreneur.com, millennials, of which I am one, spend an average of 3.7 hours a day on their smartphone. Gen Zers spend about 3 hours a day, and older people are not exempt. Boomers spend about 2.5 hours a day on average on their smartphone. I think it's worth asking the question, are these hours that are being well spent? And the third way that addiction is harmful is that they can cause physical harm. The physical effects of smartphone addiction might not be known in as much detail as addictions to things like alcohol or drugs, but there is some studies showing that prolonged smartphone use can lead to increased levels of depression, rewiring of brain circuits, and eye strain that leads to chronic headaches. So before we close, I would like to leave you all with two questions today. Firstly, is your smartphone usage bringing you closer to others or pushing you further away? Is it helping you to connect, or is it causing you to detach from the people around you? And secondly, is your smartphone usage helping you to gain knowledge, learning, or experience that is making you a better citizen of the world? Friends, we get to decide how we are going to use those 38, 45, or 60 days a year that some of us spend the equivalent of on our devices. At my age, if I continue to use my smartphone for 3 hours a day until I am 75, I will spend 7 accumulated years of my life on my smartphone. I think that that significant amount of time is at least worth considering the effects of this device. Thank you for listening.
Heather,
me?
I think Heather, yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. I couldn't remember if it was the Toastmaster or the general evaluator, but I do believe from here, which before I do, I just want to say, Chanel, wonderful speech. I absolutely love that. And it's very true. It's probably for the best if we start to disconnect from this so we can reconnect with the real world around us. With that said, I am going to pass this to our table topic master for today, who is Miss Denny Mason.
Today's is doing accent. I thought I'd like to find out from each of you, if you could speak another language, what would it be? Or alternatively, if there's another culture that you'd really like to live in, you could talk about that. Who would like to go first? Kalani.
So as soon as I volunteered, there ends up being a lot of background noise, so just waiting for that to calm down a little bit. Hi, everyone. I know I've been here for a while, so I wanted to go ahead and volunteer first. With that said, I'm going to go ahead and begin. Today's topic is with the word accent, and with Denny's question, what language would we want to speak? For those who don't know, I actually grew up speaking Spanish before I spoke English. And I was in the ELS classes for English native speaking or Spanish native speaking, where you learned both throughout preschool and kindergarten. I was raised mostly by my grandma while my mom worked, and her first language was Spanish. And so we always had this running joke when I was growing up that when I was learning English, we were learning together. So we did our homework together at the table, we made dinner, and those are some of my most cherished memories. However, my grandma remarried the years following, and thus I stopped speaking as much Spanish. So to answer your question, Denny, what language would I want to speak is actually going back to my roots and getting fluent yet again in Spanish to be able to share those memories with my grandma, even more so while I still have her, as opposed to waiting until I decide to have children and teach them the language and pass on the culture. I'm okay right now, but definitely not to the level that I want to be.
Thank you, Kalani.
Thanks.
I know a little bit about that Spanish language. I got a chance to live in Mexico when I was a lot younger, and it was definitely a total immersion type of experience where I found myself at a restaurant holding a fork going, how do you say this?
Yes, it is. It's fun though, especially when you're there and they find out that you actually do speak Spanish or that you're trying. It changes their entire relationship with you.
I completely agree with that. Who else would like to go today? Heather.
I'll go. So to answer your question, it's kind of a two-parter. So I personally think that my favorite accent that I love to hear, other people in their native tongue speak is, I think Spanish is absolutely beautiful. And then I just think Scots, they have like the coolest Scottish, let's be real, sexy accent. I love it. My husband is a Scottish man. And anyway, that's beside the point. But I actually would love to really fluently learn sign language. And I know people are like, how can you have like an accent with language? Like you don't even say anything, but you actually can, depending on where you are in the world, because you do have ASL, which is American Sign Language, but in other parts of the world, there are different, just different signs for different words as if it's their own language from that part of the world. I can't tell you exactly the different official names of those. I don't want to speak on something I don't fully know about, but I have always had a huge love and interest in sign language. And if I could really learn that fluently and be an interpreter, that is a dream I hope to make come to life in the future. And so if I had the opportunity to, it would be sign language, because I think it's both beautiful and amazing that you can sign without saying a single word. And a lot of it does come to your facial expression. And I just think it's a really, really cool language that I wish high schools or more high schools would offer. So.
Thank you, Heather. I hadn't even thought about sign language. That was a great addition to our repertoire here of language and cultures. Who else would like to go? Language or culture?
I can go. Oh, Sarah,
Go
you want
ahead.
Go ahead, Joey.
me to go
Go
first? Well, my favorite, I would say, let me start my clock here. My favorite's got to be Italian. I love Spanish, but Italian was my favorite. And playing baseball all my life, I wanted to study abroad. My wife and I decided to do that, and she wanted to do the same. And we were deciding on some locations. We were trying to decide on Australia, Italy. I think there was one other spot, and we decided on Italy because it was more centrally located. And what's interesting about the Italian language, it's very much like Spanish, and you can probably get around France with the same because of the Latin origins of the language, but it's more sing-songy. And depending on the region of Italy you go to, and I'm sure Sarah can attest to this, the more northern you go, the more traditional Italian that we would learn here in the States. The more southern you go, the more it becomes. And it's when you get into Rome, you start getting into the more southern area of Italy. It's amazing that you can learn traditional Italian. You can go to Rome and listen to a Roman speak Italian, and it doesn't quite sound the same. We could go more towards Austria and Germany, and now it sounds a little bit more German. You can hear some of that kind of stuff where they speak that in the German side of the language. You go to France, you get more of that a little bit more sing-songy, but lighter, not quite as up and down as Italian, but you get more of that French dialect to it too. So very, very interesting things. And then I think Kalani was saying that when you speak it, you go and try and speak the language, they meet you halfway and they respect you a little bit more and they'll help you a little bit more. There was one story we went in, my wife and I, we were going to go into a bread store and we were going to grab bread or something or pastries or whatnot. And it was about nighttime, it's about 4:00. And in Italian, that's buonasera. Say, hey, buonasera. And buonanotte is when you're going to bed. So I said, buonasera, we come in and we said something else. What are you looking for? And we told him, and in Italian. And the gentleman who, maybe the shopkeeper, whatever, came walking up with a big smile on his face. And he goes, good morning, good morning. But he said in English, but it was 4:00 at night. So it was really cool because that's what they would hear from us when we get these words wrong. So I thought that was a pretty cool little story. And you big smile on our face too. We probably should have corrected him, but we didn't. So that's my story.
Thanks, Joey. It always amazes me that in English, we have such a different perspective looking at someone who's trying to speak our language. You almost look at them like they're not really intelligent or something like that. And in actuality, they're speaking a second, third, fourth language so far ahead of us. Mm-hmm. But when I was in Mexico, all I had to do was try, and they're so accommodating. Who else would like to go? Sarah. Yeah, in there.
Thank you, Danny. I think this is a hard question because there's so many, like which one would actually be practical to learn in most of the world, but I already speak the language that's most practical in most of the world because so many people speak it already. But it would be so fun to just be able to learn all sorts of different ones. I'm like, well, it'd be Italian because of my Italian ancestry, or hey, how about even Armenian because that's part of my ancestry, or so that just seems like way too hard to try and learn. So there's just so many different things that I don't know which one I'd pick. And so then you were talking about culture. I feel like I'm just so undecided in all of this because I wouldn't want to be pigeonholed into just one because I want to learn about many different cultures and many different things and see the world. But I was really fascinated by Croatian culture and just the love and the gregariousness of the people that I saw there. And my brother had done, told me a little bit about the history, and which if you guys keep up with history, you probably know a little bit, just the wars that they've been through recently and how they just overcame and were able to separate and just that culture piece of coming out of a war and the close knit and how close they are to each other, I really loved. And so I don't know, it would be really interesting just to see more and more, like when countries are first starting to grow, I think there's that excitement. And I feel like the same in my job right now is there's this there's been a culture change in there, and it's kind of at that point where it's at the bottom where we've kind of gotten rid of a lot of things, and now it's the fresh time to build. And so I kind of feel like Croatia's in that same spot. So I guess I'd probably go with Croatia to go for the culture. That's it. Thanks, Denny.
Thank you, Sarah. I can definitely relate to that as a wedding photographer in Los Angeles. I got exposed to a lot of different cultures, and I couldn't tell you my favorite one. Who else would like to go? How about you? Yes.
The only one who hasn't gone, so must have been pointed at me. My language was also Spanish that I studied in high school and a little bit in college. And I think one of my biggest regrets right now is that I did not keep up on it, because I had almost gotten to a point when I was like 18, 19, where I felt conversationally fluent. So not that I was literally fluent and knew all of the vocabulary, but that I could get by. And it was super fun. I got to go to Mexico 3 times and just had a blast talking as much as I could and interacting with people. And yes, Denny, I can also testify that people were very nice and just super excited that you were even trying. And I think that it's good for us to have the same attitude with people who are learning English. I read somewhere once that if you can speak English, Spanish, and Mandarin, the main language in China, fluently, that you could communicate with over 50% of people in the world that you might meet. So I think that would also be kind of cool to be able to speak 3 of the big languages, English being the largest, of course, because it's the universal language, which, sidebar, is unfortunate because it's not necessarily the easiest language to learn. Spanish would be a much easier universal language. It's much more consistent than English. English grammar is just weird. It doesn't make any sense. So if I could have one goal as far as learning languages, which may never happen, I think it would be neat to be able to speak those 3 fluently and be able to communicate with a lot of people anywhere that I went in the world.
Thank you, Chanel. And I guess I'll go at the very end here. When I lived in Mexico, as I mentioned, I was much younger. And I did actually take Spanish in high school, but I ditched most of those classes because I was absolutely certain that I would never, ever need to know Spanish for any reason. I thought it was the biggest waste of time. And of course, it's been a major portion of my life speaking Spanish because I have 2 children who live in Mexico, grandchildren who live in Mexico, etc. The wisdom of a 14-year-old. When I went to Mexico, I had friends that did speak English. And I found that the biggest barrier to learning the language was my own embarrassment of how I spoke poorly. I would rather not speak than speak poorly. So I actually listened to Spanish for the first year until I fell in love with somebody and there was no choice but to speak Spanish. And then there was a lot of Spanish coming out of me, but I had to have motivation and incentive. From that point, it got a lot easier. And I really only found out about 20 years later that a lot of the words that I said were wrong. But I think my husband thought they were cute, so he didn't correct me. My granddaughter corrects me a lot. Anyway, Spanish is a lot of fun for me. And I'm going to pass this back to our general evaluator.
Thank you, Ms. Denny. Yeah, I think I can take that, Heather, because I think I'm going to introduce my evaluator anyway, which is going to be Miss Denny Mason, who evaluated Chanel's speech. Are you ready to go, Denny, or you want me to top hat dance across the table a little bit?
I don't think I can do that. Okay.
Take it away, Denny.
Okay. Chanel, how did you feel about your speech? Were you comfortable?
I was not very well prepared.
Well, that's very interesting because you appeared to be very well prepared. And I want to say, let me just run down the list here. You picked out a topic which was applicable to everyone. Everyone could relate to the topic. I felt that your strength in speaking was very good. Your voice tone was very good. All the questions were good. Your hand motions were appropriate for what you were saying, made it easy to follow you. You always research your topic so much more than certainly myself, but I want to say you're up in the top of people in our club that research their topic. So you always have lots of references and appropriate references and interesting references. And you're very exact in breaking down the outline. All interesting points. I feel like after listening to your speech, I want to pay more attention to how much I'm on my phone. And so you brought home the points. You seem very confident. And I'm not going to be very critical of you today because I can tell you that I don't know how long it's been since you gave the speech, but whenever it was, you've gained a lot of confidence since that time, since you first spoke. And I think everybody here who was here when you started will agree with that. So very well done on your speech. I thought it was a good speech. And it's interesting to me that you didn't feel confident, but it came across very confidently because I think you're familiar with your topic. So good job.
One second, let me get all the pins out of here.
Yeah.
One pin. There we go. Great one. Denny, as usual, our resident evaluator. I think she mentioned Chanel doing a pretty good job doing researching in her speeches. I think Denny is our prime evaluator in our club. So great work, great feedback. All right, now, so that's our evaluation portion of the meeting. So let's go back to the top and get our evaluation reports, which first one we'll give Heather a little bit of time so we can give some others some time. Sarah, do you want to start us off with the counter report?
I would love to do that. I think everybody did a fantastic job, unless I just wasn't paying attention, but I think I was paying attention, and I think everybody did a wonderful job to be able to do this. There were a few stones from people. Kalani, I didn't get anything from you. The one thing that maybe we could pay attention to in the future is, I don't know what to call it other than maybe lazy speech. Instead of saying to, we say ta. Instead of saying you, we say yeah. I noticed that a few times through a few different people, and maybe just paying attention to that so that our speech is clear and articulate and more. So great job, everybody. Did a great job.
Sarah? And I agree. Yeah, it might be the summertime, the heat causing that. Timer report. Let's go up to Chanel's speech. So Chanel came in a shade under where she was supposed to, 725. So within the range of qualifying if we had a speech contest. Our table topics, Kalani, everybody was pretty much in. I made it barely. Kalani 128, Chanel 146, Denny 137, me 230. I might have been a little bit generous. It might have been 231 and I rounded down. Heather 139 and Sarah 144. Great on the timing. And then Denny, great on the evaluation at 210. So that is my timer report. And now with the grandiose event, Heather, how do we do on the grammarian report?
First of all, I just want to out myself. I know I had a couple of knows, which is my crutch. Working on that.
You did. I did. You're so much
Appreciate
better
it.
than it used to be. I'm like, awesome.
Oh, thanks. I'm trying. But for what I got in terms of the word of the day, I did hear Joey, Denny, and Kaylani all say it at least once. Chanel, Sarah, did either of you fit that in? I didn't hear it in your speech or table topics, so I just want to make sure I didn't miss you.
No,
But
I-
overall, no. But overall, that was I feel like an improvement. So great job, everybody. And I'm gonna pass it back to Joey.
Thank you, Heather. Yeah, and it was good too. I mean, even if you didn't say the actual word, we were talking about accents and different languages and things like that. So we kind of roundabout did that. So that was good. I think that was very telling too, to hear somebody's stories on table topics. Can't Kalani. Oh, missed my feedback. Kalani. Sorry about that. You disconnected. Yeah, so overall, I think meeting went well. We're going to end on time. Again, this is always a question when I got the helm at the president. It's always a question to end on time, but I'll try and get everybody out at least before that. And I think from having a good, healthy group today of our Fresno City Toastmasters, great speech from Chanel, bringing back an old friend speech. And that's always an option too. I know sometimes it's scary to do a new speech, but if you've had an old speech, you can breathe new life into it. And it definitely doesn't take as much organization to get that speech back to up to date. I did that on my last one. I just couldn't get to doing a new one. I just couldn't get the time. So I just breathed life into a new one, whatever the word is to use for that. So that's just an easy way to get in and give a speech if you feel like you need to knock the dust off and that kind of thing. I think Denny, you did a new one, I think last time, right? Or was it was a new one? Yeah. Denny did a new one. So great work, Chanel. And then great evaluation, like I said, again, with Denny, and table topics, very revealing. I love that. We learn a lot about each member when we do our table topics. And that was a great theme, I think, table topics to fall in line with the theme of the meeting. But overall, we started, I think, slightly late, maybe a minute or two late. And I think we're going to end on time here. So I will pass the baton back to myself. We'll go through real quickly. Rewards today. What kind of rewards should we have? Anybody? Well, we had our definitely our team, Heather picking up the grammarian, Sarah picking up the odd counter, me picking up the timer, doing that for sure, alongside as supplementing our members that were already in spots. And great to have Kalani back. It's been a while with her. So nice to have her back. So let's move on to if you got the regular one, which is only Chanel, the regular paper piece of our agenda, you can flip it over or scroll down and you can look at next week's agenda. You can go down that and I'll just make some notes here. So next week's theme, end of summer, kind of, sorta. I guess for some people it's end of summer. For some of us, it's not. So anybody looking to give a speech on that day? Heather? All right, cool. All right, let me make these notes here. You might hear me fall away a little bit. I got to move my mic away. All right, so we got Heather speaking. Any other speeches? Anybody want to jump in? Table or Toastmasters? Anybody want to be Toastmaster? That's going to be here. Kalani? Cool. All right, Kalani. Toastmaster. General evaluator. Anybody that's going to be here?
I'm not sure, but I'll be here next week.
I'll be
You
here.
don't
next.
know if you're going to be here, Sarah? No. Chanel, did you say something? Or Denny?
Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm going to attend. I might hop on Zoom, but I'm going to be on family vacation, so I'm not.
Okay.
Commitment.
Okay. Denny, did you say?
Yeah, I expect to be here.
Okay. So we'll put you in that role. Did
Yeah,
you?
we're. Mhm.
All right. Denny. Table topics. Heather,
Yeah, I
Go
could
ahead.
do that.
you want to do table topics with your speech? I can take that.
Yeah, I feel like table topics though is not.
Not too bad.
Yeah, so I feel like I can handle that.
Okay. Table topics. I can pick up Heather's speech as eval. Joey speech eval. And I can pick up Zoom, obviously. Joey, Zoom. Anybody want to, besides Heather, she's already got 2 spots, want to pick up some of those other little ones, the timer, the grammarian, or odd counter? We don't have to fill them all out, but anybody want to pick up double roles?
I can fill in wherever you want me, Joe. I can do timer if you want.
Any timer, okay. And then the other ones we can get, I guess, on that day, because we're gonna slim on pickings here, and we got some gonna be out of town. So, all right. With that, any questions, comments from our? I mean, we got most of the board here. How about that? And Kalani's gonna be a part of the board at some point.
Do we know when our next board meeting is?
Oh, good question. Was our last one? Are we doing end of the month, beginning of the month? Or should we special assignment? Is there something coming up that we need to meet before? Last one might have been.
Up to you.
Should we go beginning of the month? We got August. That puts us into August. And what were we doing? Tuesday or Wednesday? Wednesday, right? Did you want to do Wednesday on the 3rd? At noon, or is that hard?
I think a little bit later in the month. I'll be leaving that day. I
Oh,
won't-
that's right.
Mhm.
You maybe want to do end of the month. We'll just start doing end of the month.
Yeah.
Does that work for you, Chanel?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, Heather, Sarah. So you want to do, we do the 31st of August or the 24th? We can do the second to last Wednesday of the month or the last one. 24th? We'll do that?
Yep.
All right, 24th, noon, Zoom.
Did you say that's a Wednesday?
That's a Wednesday. Does that work for you, Sarah?
Oh, no, not
Tuesday.
usually.
Is Tuesday better?
Well, Tuesday's the day we meet, right?
Oh, that's right. We can't do that. Yeah. Are Wednesdays in general not good?
No,
Yeah.
I usually have supervision with I usually have supervision at that time.
On Wednesdays?
hmm I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention to the day. I was thinking Mondays, so.
We could do Monday.
I can still do Mondays. It just, I couldn't do the second Monday of the month.
Oh,
That was my
gotcha.
only issue. But I
Okay.
can do Mondays if that works for everybody else.
You want to do the 25th of August? Wait, no. Hold on.
22nd.
Back to July. 22nd. Yeah. 22nd August, 12 o'clock. Let me write that down.
Can I make a request if it's all right with you guys? Can we do the 29th? Because I might be out of town for my mom's birthday on the 22nd.
Okay.
Is
That
that
works.
all right with everybody else?
Yes.
Works for me. Yep.
mhm.
Okay. August 29th. And that's Monday. Noon. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll send an agenda out with or maybe not even the agenda. Maybe I'll do that the week before. I'll send out the whatchamacallit, Google Calendar invite so that you can have that on your calendar.
And what time is it again?
Noon.
Noon? Okay, thank you.
Yep. Good. Anything else? Good question.
Thank you.
All good? All
Think
right.
so.
Well, sorry, Chanel, you got to be there by yourself over there. I have one of those Giphy things, the video that loops through of SpongeBob sitting by himself in the cafe with the coffee. And he said, I'm here all alone.
Sad.
Sorry,
So
Chanel.
sad.
Unfortunately, I'm used to it.
Aw.
Well, hopefully you're going to have some help here in these next few months.
Did you get new glasses? I like the yellow.
A few months ago, I did. Yeah,
Oh,
Thank
they're
you.
pretty.
my favorite color.
Mhm.
No
Great.
worries. No worries. It's good. I think just that we're here consistently establishing our presence. So
Yeah. Well, you'll have more heartbeats over there helping you out. So
Yeah. You guys are gonna like the new locations.
yeah, it's nice. Cool. All right, ladies, we'll have a good rest of the week and
All
we'll
right.
see you on the flip side next week.
Thanks.
bye, guys.
See ya.